Hello everyone, this is Tina with Taz's Treasures. Today I have for you Hero Arts September 2022 Card Kit of the Month. And I am back from vacation and I'm trying to catch up, so I probably only have a few cards here we can work on real quick. To start with, well, I might as well show you the add-on. I only had the one add-on this month. And it's a stencil with all these beautiful leaves. They're not flowers, I guess. Looks like a few mushrooms, you know, a real fall kind of thing, some twigs. So I'm sure we'll make a card with that. And opening this up, which I have not even opened yet. I know what's in it just from watching the video earlier. But I have not looked at it yet. I have like a couple card kits I haven't opened yet. So, of course, we get this nice little storage envelope. We have, let's see here. Trying to see what we've got. We've got Hero, our little card here with, our stamp set is this beautiful floral with, we've got like a pear, some leaves, a flower. So thankful, sending gratitude, hello fall. This looks like a little pomegranate. Thank you and thinking of you. So we've got that. We've got some real pretty gold thread. It looks like it's the kind that you have to be careful or it'll unravel, or you could just unravel it and have 4 times the amount. So we've got that. We've got a, you know, I knew I couldn't get through a video without listening to my dog's bark. It was a short little bark. We have a die that cuts out the floral along with the pear, the pomegranate, the leaves, and the little flower. And we have some rub-ons this month, which is kind of cool. And I believe you have instructions for the rub-ons right there on the back, which we do. And these rub-ons, if I am not mistaken, are about the same size. They're a little smaller than the floral that comes in the kit, the floral stamp, but I think they're smaller. Are they the same? Maybe the same size. How about that? Gives me some ideas right there. I don't have to color. So anyway, there's that. We get this really nice background stamp. Use it different directions, whatever you desire. And we have, is this cardstock? Well, of course it's cardstock. I wasn't sure if it's envelopes or envelopes. Man, my brain's not working yet. If it's card bases or if it's just 2 sheets each of cardstock in sand and antique ivory. So that explains that. We have sand and antique ivory, which kind of looked white to me, but I guess it's more white than ivory, I think. But that could just be me. So anyhow, that is our kit this month. And I'm going to make a few different cards with this, and we'll see what happens. So anyway, let's get to it. So for this first card, what I'm doing here is I am taking the pomegranate and I am stamping out, I think 8 of them on some just scrap cardstock I have, and I'm using the Hero Arts Cup of Joe color. I've got a bunch of mini ink cubes from Hero Arts I got from previous kits, and I am going to stamp this out over and over again. And I'm also going to be taking some green cardstock that is in my stash, and I am going to stamp out a bunch of pairs. I think I stamped out 12 pairs. I was only going to do 10, but one of my pears got a bunch of ink on the inside, so I stamped out some extra ones. And I don't know if you hear my dog up there. He was completely quiet until I started this voiceover. That's the only time they like to bark, is when I'm doing voiceovers. What am I going to do? So anyway, there you see my pears, and you see I did a couple extra. Now what I want to do with these is I'm going to do a little bit of shading with some colored pencils. Now I've got it pretty sped up here because I actually didn't have this in my footage at first, and then I'm like, oh, I forgot to put it in, and so I just threw it in and sped it up. So I've got these colored pencils, and I'm just going to use the white pencil to shade in the pomegranate just a bit. It's not, any major coloring. I just wanted to do minor shading, and the pomegranates have like a white inside, kind of a pulpy, and I thought that might look a little better. And then with the pears, I did a little bit of experimenting on two of the pears I wasn't going to use, looking for the best color. And I ended up just doing a little bit of brown shading on the pears around the very outside. And you can see right there, I also did a bit of shading with a little bit of brown on the pomegranate, on the outer pomegranate, the part without the seeds. And I colored in brown on the stems a little bit. None of it shows up a lot, but it just adds just a little something. And then I end up cutting all of these out. I die cut them, and that takes a lot more time than I thought it would. So I'm not showing me coloring every one of these because why would I? But yeah, I didn't like the way two of the pears turned out, so the one I'm doing, this is my experiment, but the one I end up doing right there, I kind of liked that with a little bit of brown right on the edge, and that was what I ended up doing for all of the pears. I hope that made sense. And so now here I am taking the sand cardstock that came in the kit, and I am taking that great big background stamp, and I am going to use some Simon Says cream colored embossing powder on that, and I'm going to emboss the entire thing. And I do not believe I show me well, no, I do show you me embossing it. I just don't waste the entire amount of time it took to emboss it because that would take a while. And I try to cut out different spots where I can in here to make it a little bit shorter. Things like I did remember for once to use my anti-static tool, which I don't remember that often. But here is that cream colored embossing powder, and I think it looked kind of pretty on there. Now when I look at it, it almost looks white next to the sand, but white obviously would have been way too stark of a color next to the sand cardstock. And I decide that I'm going to put a black border all the way around my sand embossed background. Now you can see with the two pomegranates and the pear what my thought is for this card. Now this card, as simple as this card is, it took me longer than any of the other cards. And here I'm going to just stamp out the word sending gratitude in some black cardstock, which is what gave me the idea to use the black cardstock around the sand cardstock to frame it out. So I just embossed that with some more cream colored embossing powder, and I forgot to show you it embossed until later on into the video, but you know what embossing looks like. So I've got this thin piece of black cardstock, which is I think it's from like Michael's. I only use it when I want to put it in a background because it's very thin. And I couldn't use it for a card base or anything like that. It just would not work well at all. So I've got that down. And I am going to make everything on this card pretty flat except for my sentiment. Now that I'm going to pop up. And I really do like the way this card turned out. My thought when I was doing these cards was not just to stamp the big background floral and be done with it. I wanted to try some different things, and I don't know, I'm not always that artistic to come up with a lot of different type of things. I see some people can take these kits that are pretty limited with the stamp sets and just come up with amazing cards. I have to think about it to come up with okay cards. But I do like the way this turned out anyway. I just kind of did every other one of these and didn't have to do a lot of coloring at all. In fact, I probably didn't have to color them or shade them in at all if I didn't want to. So this would be an easy card to replicate. The thing, like I said before, that took the longest was the die cutting. And even that, it was just kind of a mindless task that was a little bit relaxing. So I hope everybody's having a great September. As you know, if you follow me at all, I just got back from vacation and I had a wonderful time, but it was one of those vacations where almost everything went wrong. Just for example, 2 nights before we left, our bathroom flooded. I went in there and all of a sudden there was water pouring. Just, I didn't know where it was coming from. It looked like it was coming from the ceiling, but I think somewhere in the room a pipe had broke and all this hot water was just spewing all over. And I was just trying to call to the front desk. It took me forever to get through. And then I ended up calling like 3 times because I don't think they realized it was the emergency that it was. So anyway, I'll get back to that. But right now, this is my second card. And I'm using the stencil and I'm using some fall colors. I've got pale tomato I'm starting with. And you could use almost any fall colors that you want. And I just thought it would be kind of fun, instead of doing each individual leaf, to just kind of do a circle of colors. Plus, I was feeling a bit lazy and just wanted to make it a little bit easier on myself. So this color here is Tangerine. And I'm just kind of going around and blending the red into the orange. And the next color I'm going to be using is Lemon Drop. That I use after the orange. And then I use Caramel. And then I go back to the Pale Tomato. And I love, love, love how this turned out on the sand cardstock. So anyway, my bathroom flooded, and I finally got them up there. There was like 2 inches of water in the entire room by that point. The husband and I knew that we weren't going to be staying in the room, so we were throwing things into suitcases. And then the front desk wanted to move me in the room immediately downstairs from the room that just flooded. And I was like, no, I don't think so. I think it's a good possibility water might start coming through the ceiling. So they moved us into another room. I didn't like the view as much, and it had like double beds instead of the king. But we were leaving in 2 days, so I was just happy to be in a dry room at that point. And then on the last day of our vacation, well, it wasn't even the last day of vacation. As we were coming home, we were at the airport, and an earthquake hit. And a big earthquake. It was centered 7.2, like 200 miles away, but the entire airport was shaking and they evacuated everything. And it was just a lot of stuff like that happened on my vacation. So, at that point, all you can do is laugh. And, a bad day in Mexico is better than a good day at home sometimes. So, it was still fun. So here is my beautiful background. Don't you? I just love it. I love the way that looks. I love the way the reds go into the oranges, into the yellow. And what I'm going to do with this is I am going to use some gold embossing powder, and I'm going to gold emboss So Thankful right into the middle. And I probably should have put some sequins on this card, but I was so busy admiring the stenciling that I did not end up doing that. So you're going to see me stamp my sentiment from the card kit, because obviously the stencil is an add-on, but I think it works really well with this kit. But you could use any kind of fall stencil pretty much to get something like this. And I think you could just like mask off a circle right in the middle and make something that's very similar. I think almost every company has some sort of leafy fall stencil. I think if I were to look in my stash, I might have something. I don't know that it would be quite as small, but I think I could still make it work, and so can you if you'd like. So we've got this gold embossing powder, and I'm going to go ahead and heat emboss that. Now, the reason you didn't see me check to make sure my background was dry was, number one, I did do that, but I also, after I went ahead and inked up the stencil, I took a little break for dinner because I had been at this all day. I swear, I think it takes me a longer time to make these cards than some other people. And you see right there, I pulled in this mirrored cardstock that I had in my stash. It's kind of a coppery gold reddish color, which just is perfect for a fall card. And I just love the way it looked on the background. I wasn't planning to use that color. I was originally going for a piece of gold mirrored cardstock that I thought might go well with the heat embossing, but the reddish mirrored, cardstock I'm using, I think goes even better. So I am just gluing down my frame now, my card base. You knew what I meant. So I'm just gluing that down flat. All my cards are flat except for the popped up Sending Gratitude on the first card, and they are all A2 cards. Now I am using some a Desert Storm card base because I had that in my stash, and why not use it? I think it might have come with the Simon Says stamps kit at some point or another. Now for this third card, I have got this the rub-on, that's what you call them. And I don't use these a lot, but I decided I wasn't going to do any coloring. I was just going to use the rub-on. And what I'm doing is I took some Monthly Hero Raspberry Jam ink, and I'm just lightly trying to ink up a little circle of ink there. Now, it doesn't look too good, but it does dry back a bit. And I also knew that I was going to be putting the rub-on over it, so it ended up turning out really well. I just wanted a little bit of background color. And I'm using the cream-colored cardstock that came with the kit for this. It's a real mild. Would you call a color mild? I don't know, but it's not overly creamy. It's more on, towards the white. I think I mentioned that when I unboxed it, that it looked more white to me than cream. But it is definitely more cream than white if you, put it next to a piece of white cardstock. So At this point, I kind of realized that, oh no, I wanted to do some heat embossing, so I shouldn't put the rub on the card yet, just in case it affects it somehow. So I pulled out my Misty, and I am going to use the sentiment Thinking of You, and I'm going to put that right on the bottom of the card underneath where we're going to put that rub on. And I am just going to stamp it with some Versamark ink, which is what I used for my previous card. And I'm just checking to make sure it's straight, and I still think I might have got it a tiny bit crooked, just because, you know, that's what I do. I am the imperfect crafter. But we get that all inked up, and we're going to heat emboss that with our, I never did mention, what I'm using is Fun Stamper's Journey Gold Embossing Powder. It's the only gold embossing powder I've got right now, other than some, I do have some Hero Arts with the glitter in it, but I wasn't really in a glitter mood. So now I am going to put this rub on my card. This is the biggest rub on I've ever used. Usually when I use them, they're just like small little sentiments or stuff. And you just got to be really, make sure you rub that down with your fingernail or a bone folder, or in this case, the included popsicle stick, real good. And if you start to peel up and you notice that some's still on your release paper, you can put it back down and rub it in some more, and it should stick. And just make sure you peel it off pretty slow. And so once I had this peeled off, it just it came off beautifully, and I just think it's so pretty. And I love that I didn't have to color it. But I am going to add a little piece of the gold twine that came with the kit. I tied it in a double bow, and I'm using a little glue dot and then a little piece of liquid glue there to make sure it stays in place. And that's going to be it for the card. So if you enjoyed watching me make these 3 cards today, please give this a thumbs up. It helps tremendously. And for all the people that helped me get over 500 subscribers, yay you! I love you! So I would love to have you subscribe, and if you're already a subscriber, thank you so much. I am so glad you're back. And hopefully you can all go on vacations where your bathrooms don't flood and you don't get caught in an earthquake. Anyhow, here are my 3 cards. I did not do a good job of showing you my second card when I made it at the end, and I apologize for that. But you can see it here, and I just think it's, I think it's almost my favorite. But I do like the way these all turned out. So anyhow, thank you so much for watching. And please come back again and watch some more of my videos. Anyhow, bye-bye for now.